Hey guys, welcome to my channel. So I want to go over this again, toxicology report. Just say one thing though before I start, because I'm getting comments and people are misunderstanding the last couple lives I did trying to explain this. When I say that they tested for something, I'm not saying that it was positive. So for instance, when I said they tested for fentanyl, I did not mean that it was positive for fentanyl. I meant that they tested for it and it was negative. So just because I'm saying they're testing for drugs, that isn't the same as me saying that she had them in her system. So I just want to make sure, because I don't want people spreading around this false information and saying they got it from me, because that is not what I said. Just want to make a little disclaimer because there's already people saying that and I know it's going to spread. Well, Zav said that she had fentanyl in her system. No, I did not say that. And make sure you pay attention when I show you these test examples compared to her real test. I'm going to be showing you like some of the lab's test examples. And I say, so just pay close attention. I'll say if it's a test or if it's Kiely's, okay? So some of these are just examples to show you. So the ones with the highlighted marks on, it's going to be Kiely's test. But if you listen to the audio as I'm explaining, I'm very clear on what is what. So make sure you pay attention. She only had a few things that she tested positive for. Like I said, last night I was looking through these tests and I realized maybe I should test some of these test numbers and see what it brings up. So what I did is I put this test, which is right here. This is Kiely's test. So this is the test requested, 8052 Ti. Okay. So I put that in and it brought me to NMS Labs and the testing. So I Googled it. So it's 8052 Ti, okay? 8052 Ti. If you do that, it'll bring this up. They give you the expanded postmortem test, just like what it says on the, here's Kiely's right here, postmortem expanded tissue. So I clicked on that. Here, let me go back to show you what happened. So I put in that and then I clicked on that, right? Okay, so it brings this up. Okay, but first, let me go back to my email and show you. My name is Tiffany, and I'm putting in a FOIA request for the rest of the test results in the Kiely Rodni case. It says on the autopsy and toxicology results for a detailed list of all analytes and reporting limits included in this screen to contact NMS Labs. So I'm requesting a complete list of all analytes that were tested for Kiely Rodni. And was all of those in the bottom of the paragraph tested or not? And was a cocaine detected in her system? And did you specifically test for fentanyl? Thank you for your time. So she said, thank you for contacting NMS Labs. The link for the list of all the analytes is shown below. And she gives me the link and you'll see it's the exact same thing that I found last night. It's the same test. See, here's the one that we just found by putting in the test number. And here is hers links right to the analytes part, which is just this part right here, okay? So it's same thing. If you go to the overview on both, it's the same thing, okay? But before I received the email, because I received it after I did the live this morning, I had called the labs because I hadn't gotten the email yet. So I called the labs, not even saying what case that I was asking. First of all, I was asking if they could give me specifics on a case, and they said they couldn't. So I just asked general questions, okay? So I asked general questions, and she basically said the same thing. She directed me to this test code and said, this is the test we did. And I said, why is it not listed? She said, we don't list them all. It would take too much room, so we don't list them all on the documents. We just list a few of them that we test for. And then if you want more, you could request them, or you could just look up the test number. And so she had me look up the test number, and she said, this is what they tested for that test number. As we could see, here's Kiely's. This is the test number that they tested. Testing requested, okay? And you could see it's the same. I'll show you down here. It's those same tests. See, look. So this is Kiely's test. So Kiely's test, I'm going to show you some example tests, but remember the ones that are highlighted, because I highlighted these myself. So the documents you see that have highlighted on them, that's Kiely's test, because I'm going to show you some example tests from them too. So make sure you don't get them confused. The highlighted ones, if you see highlighted on them, it's Kiely's. If not, it's the examples. But I'll say too. But look, so if you see, you got chromatography, you have the colorimetry, the ELISA. So if you go back to where we were, same thing. Colorimetry, chromatography, headspace, spectrometry, ELISA. So same thing. Okay. Now, so instead of just showing 25 at a time and then have to go to the next page, I'm just going to show them all at the same time. So you just could show all at the same time. So I could just scroll down. Okay. So look, we got fentanyl. So we could either look at the overview or if you want to look at the analytes. But look, if you look, oh my God, there's so many. So there's 178. Okay. So let's go to analytes, because with the analytes, you could actually click on it. So this is the test. It's the postmortem expanded tissue. So you could go, like you could click on each one to kind of see fentanyl is the synthetic opioid, is another fentanyl, different analytes for fentanyl. Okay, and then you just go down the list. Like a benzo. So Rohypnol we looked up real quick, and they didn't test for that, but the generic name is flunitrazepam, which I just found out today that it's a benzo. So it possibly could come up under the benzos because they did test for benzos, but it looks like you would probably need a specific test for that. I'm thinking there might be a chance it could come under the general benzo test, but I'm thinking that, you know, to be sure, you'd probably need a specific test for that. Because I did look it up, and there are specific tests for that for like urine and stuff, where it says you need a specialized test, but I don't know about with tissue. I'm sure it's the same thing. So, I mean, there's probably a chance it could come up, but is it likely? I don't know. I tried to look it up, but I couldn't get any statistics on it. Would it come up? Rohypnol, would it come up? Like, what's the percentage it would come up under benzo? And then psilocybin is the drug that they would be looking for mushrooms, shrooms, and no, they didn't test for it. You need a specialized test for that too, and it's actually kind of expensive. At least it says it's expensive. I don't know what that means as far as how much, but you do need a specific test. So they didn't test for that either. And GHB, no, they didn't either. I already looked through all these, but so I'll just kind of go through these. You know, you can kind of look at them and pause it if you want. Methamphetamine, methadone. All kinds of stuff. There's another norfentanyl. There's another fentanyl metabolite. So then you could do example tests, right? So I was looking through those the other day, or last night, I should say. So I want to give an example negative test. It looks really similar to the test Kiely's because it's like a standard as far as how they list, like what they list for the examples, where they're just going to list a few of the classes of drugs that they test for. Not all of them. We've seen 178 analytes. They don't list them all because they don't have room, like they said, but they did list a few. And this is a general standard of what ones they list. This is just showing the negative because there's no positives on this, right? It's just showing like that if it was negative, if everything was negative, this is what it would look like. And here's Kiely's. Look familiar? Yes. Set up the same. I'm the one that highlighted this, right? Just so we could tell them apart. So this is just their standard form of showing on the document some of the classes of drugs that they tested for. And then the rest that they tested for, you will have to request and see. Or you could just type in that test number and it shows you. But you see, it's not specific to Kiely's. They do it. This is how they show everybody, some of them. They show them the same ones. Cocaine, opiates, oxycodone, oxymorphone, benzo, buprenorphine, and cannabinoids. I know I keep repeating it, but I don't know what the best word is to explain this because I know there's still going to be some people confused of what I'm saying. So this is Kiely's. And this goes on to the next page. So that's just how they do it. That's the ones they choose to show. They think those are, I don't know, like this is whoever decided, okay, so instead of, we're not going to be able to report every single one. There's too many on this test. For this test, I mean, there's just a long list. We're not going to list 178 and just, no. We're not going to list all those out. So let's pick some of the ones that we want to put on our standard form to list out of what we test for. So these are the ones they picked that they show people for an example of some of the ones they test. I just want to stress that's not the complete list. They tested for 178. This is just what they choose to put on their forms because they said they can't put them all on the forms. If you want to know everything that they tested for, put in the test number or request it. But they're just showing you some of them on the forms. Don't have enough room to put them all in the documents. So that's all. I just have been reading comments under my other video and people are still confused on a lot. So I don't know how I could explain it any clearer, but I'm trying. Okay? And then, so I started looking at, let's go back to the test. So I wanted to see, okay, what does a positive report look like? So I clicked on that. This is an example. Remember, this is not Kiely's test. This is just a positive example test to show people what the forms look like. So here's the positive findings. Here's, I'll show you, bring up, we'll compare. Remember, the highlighted ones are the Kiely's. So here's Kiely's. Looks, and then here's the example. So it's the same, positive findings. Okay. And then you go down. Clear vial, white plastic cap. Test. See? Okay, and then you go down, and this is Kiely's is this. It's going to look different because this is Kiely's, what she tested for with the highlighted up here, and then this is just the example test. So it shows. Okay, and then go down. So this is the part, so I'm looking through this right here where it gets to the confirmation here. And I'm like, okay, so this is confirmation. This is confirmation. See, look, gabapentin confirmation, acetone confirmation, fentanyl. Okay, so remember, this is just the example test. But I'm like, okay, so this is confirmation. Now, does confirmation, are these all the ones listed on the positive? And it is. They're all on the positive list. But then it confuses me because if you remember Kiely's, she has those confirmation. I'll show you. She has the cocaine and metabolites confirmation, and then the alcohol is acetone confirmation. They both say confirmation, but they're not on the positive list. Okay, if you go up, they're not on here. The cocaine or acetone is not on here. And it's not on here. But on the example positive, the ones that said confirmation were on the positive list. So I'm like, wait, that doesn't make sense. Why aren't these then? So I asked the lady on the phone, remember, she didn't know what the patient was. All she knew is how to read the test. So she was helping me read the test. By what? Okay, there was no name exchange. She was just helping me read the test. I was asking her general questions. And so, I'll write down, because like I said, I recorded it for my own purposes to go back for reference. So I asked her, I said, I don't understand. It says cocaine and metabolites confirmation tissue, liver tissue, but it does not have it in the positive list. And she said, this is what she said it means. She said, okay, so confirmation is seen in the screen, initially seen if something is detected. It will trigger a confirmation test and a second test to confirm what was in the screen. And if it was positive above the reporting limit, it would be in the positive findings box. However, if it did not meet the threshold, it would not be listed in the positive findings box, but would still indicate it was seen in the screen. So basically, the cocaine metabolites were seen in the screen, so it triggered a confirmation test, and then the second test to confirm what was in the screen, and it didn't confirm. It didn't match the reporting limit to confirm with the second test, basically. The second test didn't confirm it. It has to be above the reporting limit, and it didn't meet the threshold. Didn't meet the threshold, didn't meet the reporting limit, so therefore it was not an official positive. It could not be in the positive findings, but it would still indicate that it was seen in the screen. So that goes for the cocaine metabolites, and also goes for alcohols and acetone. So it just wasn't enough. Okay? So that's that, guys. Like I said, this is her test. This is the test that they performed. And the part that it says, because I know some people were going to see this part of all of the requested testing was unable to be performed. So you refer to the analysis, summary, and reporting limits. So the one thing that wasn't able to be performed, it says it right here. It's the analysis of high performance liquid chromatography, tandem mass spectrometry, because it was a matrix problem. But yeah, so everything else they tested, and I'll even show you here if you want to go in. So like I said, the email linked me right to this. But like I said, the night before I had already just typed in the test number and figured it out before I even got the email or the phone call. Before I called, I just typed in that number into Google, and that number, and right here, so it comes up. So, and then it was the same thing. I just got the link earlier today. I mean, so it's all confirming. It's the same exact thing what she told me on the phone too. My computer just going really slow. Come on. Same thing. It was the same link that she sent. And then if you actually just want to go to the NSMS Labs homepage, if you want to go check it out, this is where her tests were done. Go here. You could go to forensic testing, go to death investigation, postmortem toxicology, expanded, and right here is this, right here, that's the test, 8052 Ti, 8052 Ti. Click on that. I want to show you one more thing here, actually. So if you go here and you go down to these match up with, so these are the test code, test name, reflex tests, okay? So list of all reflex confirmatory tests that may be performed depending on the results and interpretation of the initial screen results. Additional charges may apply. So a list of all reflex confirmatory tests that may be performed depending on the results and interpretation of the initial screen results. Additional charges may apply. So that's the ones here I'll show you. So the ones that we had. So basically, that's where those other numbers come in. Watch. So the cocaine one, where are we at? So cocaine, okay, right here. I'll show you. So that's where that number comes in. So cocaine, right here, confirmation. So they did the other test and then it just didn't confirm. But that's the test that they did. And so right here, 50014 Ti, it matches up. Okay. And then the other one is the alcohol. Actually, there might even be one up here. Yeah. Right here. Cannabinoids. Actually, that'll be in the cannabinoids right here. Right there. Okay. And then, which that did end up. So the initial test, and then when they retested it for the confirmation test, we know that did end up being positive. Oh, so okay, so that one. And then there's one more, this acetone right here. So that's where those numbers come from. So yeah, that's what these confirmations are, basically from the initial screen of all of those 178 analytes that were tested. These are the ones that were in the screen, the ones that say confirmation, confirmation. Okay, so those showed up in the screen. And then when they did the confirmatory test, only some of them actually made it to the reporting limit to be on the list. So the ethanol right here under this one, so it made the limit, the ethanol. So you see what I'm saying? Now, as far as like for the nicotine, caffeine, and contenine, that's probably why they're presumptive positive, because they probably came up on the screen and they didn't want to pay for the extra test, or maybe it's a different type thing where they don't need to confirm that because they're all, you know, kind of legal, over the counter. Just, it's probably just not even worth it if it costs extra money to get that confirmation, because I mean, what's that gonna say? You know, what's that gonna do? Oh yeah, it says right here. That's exactly what it is. It says the test is an unconfirmed screen. Confirmation by a more definitive technique such as GCMS is recommended for all three of the presumptive positives: nicotine, caffeine, and contenine. So this test is actually making a lot of sense now. So on the screen initially, like I was explaining for the cocaine, all came up on the screen, and then they had to do the confirmation test, but they didn't do the confirmation test for the nicotine and the contenine and the caffeine. They just kept that presumptive positive, and never it was confirmed, because they probably didn't want to spend the money for the confirmation test, because what's the point for caffeine and cigarettes? I mean, you don't really need to, right? So they let that go and just left that presumptive positive. But for the delta, so basically for the weed, ethanol, and cocaine, because cocaine came up originally on the screen, and then the other alcohols, alcohol and acetone, and then the weed, those all came up on the first screen. So they wanted to do the confirmation test on those to see what the limit was, because those are important. And so from those, cocaine didn't make the confirmation test. It didn't hit the reporting limit, so it fell below the reporting limit. But the ethanol went above it, and the weed went above it. So that's what I'm guessing. I don't know. I don't know for sure, but I'm guessing for these ones, they didn't even want to take the time or pay the extra money to get the confirmatory test. So when it came up on the screen, like the nicotine, caffeine, and contenine, they just did a presumptive positive. But then the ethanol, delta 9, and well, no, I should say cannabinoids, the cocaine metabolites, the alcohol and acetone. And then what else? Yeah, so those are the ones that came up on the screen. And then they wanted to do the confirmation tests. And they did the confirmation test. And the only ones that went over the reporting limit to be confirmed would be the ethanol and the delta 9, or the weed, you know? Ethanol. It was just above the reporting limit, because the reporting limit is 80, so 88. And then ethanol, this one just says confirmed, but it was confirmed where it must have went over the reporting limit. So hopefully that makes sense. But the cocaine didn't meet the reporting limit. Acetone didn't, obviously, because that's not listed, but the ethanol did. And then, of course, the delta 9. And then this one did. This ethanol, too. Because it was 88. So this ethanol was 88. And then this ethanol was just confirmed. So I'm not sure with both of those ethanols being in there. And then the acetone was in the screen, but not making the threshold in the confirmation test. I don't know how much as far as the alcohol, but so hopefully that makes sense. Like I said, even, you could find these numbers because they break it down here for the test code. for the original screen. All these are the original screen, and then when they come up in the screen, then they do these confirmation tests. And these are the numbers for each of the confirmation tests they have to do. So so the ones I just listed that came up in the screen that showed up in this general test of 178 analytes, only a few came up in the screen, and then they did those tests, and these each have the specific test number to do those for whatever comes up in the screen, and then they do these tests. So does that make sense? So for instance, this came up in the screen, so they did this test to confirm it. And we see that on here, right here. Right here. 52250 TI. And then to confirm the cocaine for the confirmation test, because it came up on the screen, they do this test, that test number to confirm that, as you could see, the confirmation test. I'm sure you get it. And I'm sorry I keep repeating it, but this is the third video I try to explain it, and I'm still getting comments of people are confused and they're saying things that's not right. So I just don't want wrong information to go around, but I don't know how much more I could try to explain it. It bothers me if people are taking my video and misunderstanding it and then spreading misinformation from my video because they're not understanding it. So that's why I keep repeating myself. I do apologize, but let me stress one more time, because I think people they see that on my last video I said they did test her for fentanyl. So people must be misunderstanding that as me saying that she had fentanyl in her system, and that's not what I'm saying. So everybody, when I say they tested for something, it doesn't mean that she had it in her system. I'm saying that they tested her for it and it was negative. So please don't go around saying that I said that she had fentanyl in her system, because I didn't. When you say you tested somebody for something, it doesn't mean it's positive. It could be negative. And if I don't say that, oh yeah, it's positive, then no, it's negative for fentanyl. I don't mean to sound frustrated, but Lordy. Oh, people in comments trying to argue like it would say fentanyl if she had fentanyl in her system. Well, I know it would, but it's not in her system. Anyway, guys, I just want some of you guys that could understand it the first time are probably like, why are you saying it over and over? We get it, but not some people are a little bit slower, and that's fine. Some people just are a little bit slower for learning, and it's totally all right. But I just want to make sure they understand it, so I just stress it. That's all.
Maybe I've been naive before, but I'm not anymore. 'Cause I know that kindness is the answer we're all searching for. Really